Ever since the end of March, the March equinox last year, 2025, I knew what was coming in regards to the cycles, the bigger cycles, because the nature of my perceptions around the book written by Bibu Dev Misra, called Yuga Shift. And that's been like the best book I've read in regards to what I've comprehended is coming down the pipeline. And as we move into a energetic shift, spiritual, mental, physical, holographic shift on every level of existence. The realm that we're in, that we are in when we exist in regards to our avatars experiencing this realm, this reality through our avatars, is divine consciousness expressing itself through an avatar to be able to experience this realm. What happened to me last year, I knew what was coming energetically, and because of having read that book, so about a few years before, Bibu Dev Misra's book, Yuga Shift. And you know, when you read something like that, for me anyway, I have a lot of discernment around the nature of information that comes my way. I discern whether that holds any water for me, and I look at the information and go like, well, okay, I'll pass it through my filters intuitively, see how it feels. And what it felt like to me after reading that book is it felt like it was everything that had come before in regards to what I'd learned about where we're going towards, from other people, other researchers, other voices, other people who I followed with a conscious spiritual bent. I felt like a lot of what they said didn't correlate with what I was reading in this book and what I'd read in this book. And when I finished the book, I was like, everything feels like there's an opportunity to witness the play-by-play, what Bibu Dev Misra wrote about in that book, Yuga Shift, and to see what happens, right? Let's just see what happens as we move forward, because I'm so close to this timeline. I don't like using that word, but and that concept, but this movement towards this energetic shift. And when we came to a place in 2025, in that time, end of March, which was our autumn equinox in the southern hemisphere and the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, what happened in that moment, there's an enormous shift and a rapid change in regards to geological activity. Earthquakes, floods, weather pattern systems were changing, enormous solar activity. I began to follow Stefan Burns on YouTube last year in March. I began to see the nature of the solar maximum we're in ramping up, sunspots, plasma waves, coronal mass ejections, the correlation between sun activity, sunspots, coronal mass ejections, plasma waves, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, weather patterns and systems changing, the stimulation of the Earth's electromagnetic field by these enormous electromagnetic waves hitting the Earth from the sun, the Earth getting charged up, releases in seismic energy, releases in volcanic activity, weather systems and patterns changing. Piggybacking upon that, of course, you might have a technological means to modify weather in a way that, if you were so inclined to do so, there's a piggybacking happening in the same moment by the powers that be and forces within certain governments and militaries around the world, piggybacking upon these cycles to utilize the energy and harness it and maximize it for their profit. Disaster capitalism, for sure. And I've seen some information that portends to that. Example, Jamaica, making Jamaica into a smart island. Lahaina in Hawaii many years ago as well, using directed energy weapons to destroy an area to therefore build a smart city. But that's a whole different topic. I'm not talking about this today. I'm talking about the nature of where we're at right now, because today is February the 20th and there's a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And this happens every 35 years, and I'm not going to get into the nature of what this energy means in a large context, because there's so many videos you can find on YouTube that talk about that. I want to talk about my own personal journey getting to here over the last It's almost been almost a year, and maybe a year in March, 21st of March this year, 2026. And my intention is to be at Kura Tawhiti, which is Castle Hill in the Altus Pass, on the 21st of March, which is the autumn equinox. Rather than going to, there's 2 festivals happening in the Auckland region. But my energy says to me, my feeling is, go to Kura Tawhiti and go to that place and have a drop in there, because the energy bombarding the earth right now, which is flowing through the grid system, will be very powerful and poignant in that moment. And if I'm at Kura Tawhiti for that moment, the equinox, I'll be going into a place where I'm in a correlation and in a connection, a deep energetic confluence, moving through that dragon line. They call it a dragon line, at Kura Tawhiti, Castle Hill in the Altus Pass. And by doing that, we'll have an opportunity to anchor into the energy of the land, of our planet's consciousness, and have a very different experience as if I was at a festival. And I want to come back to festivals as well this summer, and how the festival season in New Zealand, I should say, in New Zealand, has been in a lot of people's lives that I know, it's been very prevalent in their lives. Their energy's been focused on doing that, which is just pure escapism, rather than being focused on what the energies that are here and available for us to utilize and to ride the wave with, and harness in a way that brings us into more coherence with the bigger cycles within the cosmos, right? A lot of my friends who have it, who don't really know this information, or if they hear it, don't care, they're more interested in doing the hedonistic Sodom and Gomorrah kind of experiences. I'm making a joke when I say that, but have those experiences, which is very different to actually dropping into the energy that's available to us to be able to recalibrate and reconfigure in regards to being in the coherence with this energy that's moving into this realm right now, especially today, 20th of February 2026, which is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So for me, in the last year, I have been gone through an enormous phase of rebirth and breaking down of a lot of my structures in my life. You know, when I went to Mangatapuri last year in the end of January, I was going up there to do a job, a full interior exterior paint, exterior strip, interior paint. The contract was about $47,000. I was bringing out 2 of my crew to work with me to do this job. We were going to stay on site, probably finish it in about 2.5 months. I would have left New Zealand, gone to probably Asia or Central or South America for 4 to 6 months. I would have been over there. I wouldn't have gone through what I went through if that contract, at least in my perception, I wouldn't have gone through what I went through last year living in Auckland if my contract had been fulfilled and I'd left to go overseas for 4 to 6 months. I would have had a very different experience. Who knows what that experience would be and where I'd be right now energetically, because of the nature of where I would have gone to and what I would have tapped into. But last year I had a tumultuous year where everything just broke down for me in a way that was often really difficult to deal with. I felt all the structures that I built in my life in regards to me living my life in the Wellington capital region, and my life in general, how I connected to people, what it meant to me to be in a place like Auckland City, where I grew up till I was 17 years old. And I went down to Otago University in Dunedin and never came back here to live here until mid-90s for a year. And went abroad for 7 years, came back to live in Wellington for 20 years. To come back here again, it triggered me in a way that I guess in some ways it was another Saturn return for me. I'm 54 in my avatar. It was like another Saturn return for me on some level, energetically, and I began to be triggered by a number of circumstances of me being in Auckland City, but nothing aligned in regards to my position moving forward in regards to finances, regards to vocation, and what I really wanted to do with my books, Ohoakebooks, how I wanted to make those books into TV series and film, was looking to connect with producers and directors and production companies and offer those books and a video to the New Zealand film industry, all rights reserved to me in regards to the book sales, but give them the international IP to be able to take those all that work, and make it into TV series to keep people in the country who are working in the film industry employed if Trump's tariffs came into, not necessarily destroy, but to hamper our film industry, right? No response, nothing. No one even, I sent the video to producers, the Producers Guild in New Zealand for film, and no one even responded to me. So, and that's just the very tip of the iceberg for me. I had a number of situations last year where I was fully shown through people's actions and words and deeds a lack of accountability in regards to how they move through their lives. And that lack of accountability, especially with women that I was dating last year, was just too much. I was in a place where I was being fully accountable for my words, deeds, actions, thoughts in regards to relating to people. But I began to see how transactional people were. People were transactional in the way that they conducted themselves with me. What can I get from far? How can he serve me? How can I get the best out of the situation for me? And that's where they're at in regards to their connections with me. Very transactional. And there wasn't a sense of community or a sense of symbiotic relationship with each other in regards to these connections, women and with friends to a large extent. I had a small group of friends that were very close to me who were community minded and totally got it. And it wasn't a purely transactional experience with us. It was more like we were actually connecting with each other in a way that was more heart based. Very small. I was fortunate enough to also have been in a place like the Button Factory in Auckland, right, the community hub, where I met a bunch of amazing people, had some incredible experiences. I lived the life of a rock star on an oily rag last year, pretty much, a smell of an oily rag, financially. And that was quite a task. But I'm able to adapt. I've always been able to adapt to situations the best I possibly can, all my life. And I did really well to be able to adapt in a way that not only allowed me to thrive, but allowed me to do my work and have the spaciousness to do my work in regards to what I need to do for cohesion with my spirit, my ability to research, my ability to discern, and to be able to come to a place of deep connection to the energetic natural world around Auckland City. Excuse me. But last year also, for me, I began to see this energy moving and shifting and changing, and we get to the point where we are now today in February. And it's February the 20th, and it already feels like it's April, May. The air temperature is quite chilly. The mornings are quite cold. Like normally this time last year, I was living in Auckland, it was a lot warmer than it is now in the mornings. It's like we've almost moved energetically from a late summer to a mid autumnal energy and feeling in the weather. It's that cold, and something has definitely shifted. I find myself a lot more in need of a lot more sleep at the moment. I'm finding my dreams to be, especially in the last week, be full on but beautiful, but quite full on and vivid and lucid in the last week, coming up to this conjunction. And energetically, I felt like I've just been very calm, very calm. The last 4 or 5 months of the end of 2025, I found out my blood pressure was through the roof. And I've been doing my detective work to find out the cause of that. You know, I feel as though the cause of my blood pressure being through the roof for potentially the whole of the year last year was because I took a knock to the skull, the back of my head here, with a plank falling on my head, or had a bump my head sometime, and my two discs in my neck, the two two first vertebrae, were compressed, and by being compressed, my basal cervical ganglion, the bundle of nerves in this region of my neck here, these two discs were compressed, and therefore was firing electrical signals into my brain, which were, this is my perception, my detective work and my intuitive work as well, is that my brain was receiving these electrical impulses, and what was happening was that was causing my body to release hormonally norepinephrine, cortisol, and my adrenals were charged. Even though I was very calm on the surface in regards to my demeanor, on the subconscious level, there was something going on that my body was like working on its doing its work, and my parasympathetic nervous system wasn't engaged. I was in constant fight or flight, and that nature of my body working and doing its job, but I'm not consciously aware of it, through the subconscious. And that was proven to be correct when I did some work with Catherine Caldwell and the body code work. The last time we had a session together, at the end of the session I asked about my health and my blood pressure, and she said there's a subconscious element to this that's going on. Not a belief, not a statement or a pattern or a behavior, but there's something going on in the subconscious that's actually causing this blood pressure to be elevated, and it fluctuates. At the moment, my blood pressure I had it tested last week was 136/98 or 96, I think, which is still, from some of my age, they used to, so I heard from my friend Catherine Caldwell, the body code practitioner, they used to take your number, your systolic number, the top number, 100 plus your age was usually your blood pressure. And mine was 136, so it was quite low. It had gone down from 170, 180, 190 sometimes, down to 136 in about 2 months. So I'm doing all the right things in regards to bringing that back down again. Magnesium, vitamin D, K2, manocarnes, aged garlic, potassium in my diet as well. I like potassium and electrolytes in my system to remove calcium from my arteries. But I also feel as though energetically I'm recalibrating in regards to my avatar is recalibrating to these energies that have been coming in the last year. Because I've been doing the research around this as well. With a lot of solar activity, sunspots, coronal mass injections, plasma waves, it's been proven through peer-reviewed studies that blood pressure elevates when you have these high solar activity. So I'm looking at that going, it's part of my equation as well, to know that at some point in the last year, my blood pressure has been, I'm in the life stream, you could say, at least in regards to my conscious and subconscious energy of what's happening with these energetic shifts and changes. I can see that, I can feel it. I'm in that life stream. And what does that mean for me? It means I make different choices. It means I have the awareness to make different choices. And what I'm seeing around me in this moment in my life is that there are people making other choices that not necessarily don't align. It's not true. For them, in their experience, it aligns for them in a very different way to mine. Let's put it that way. To be fair, right? But this year and last year, 2026 and 2025, I have seen people. The one outstanding premise of me still being single in my life is that there's a lack of accountability for most women that I meet who aren't friends. My friends and who I love dearly, women who are my friends, and I've got a lot of them because of the nature of where I'm at in my own life. I know what I want to experience, I know what I don't want to experience in regards to a connection relating to a woman. Is that a lot of my friends who are women who are friends for a very good reason, and I wouldn't date them and they wouldn't date me, they all take full accountability for their lives and everything they say, do, think, believe, create. Full accountability, full responsibility. But the woman that I've brought into my life, and this is a reflection of me on some level too, right? It was showing me what I don't want to experience, is that the last woman I dated for a very short time, when I said to her, look, for me, a big part of dating someone is full accountability. I want to be held accountable for as a mirror for me. You will show me things about myself that I need to hold accountable in my being and myself in order to be able to grow and have full personal growth and come to a place of deeper harmony and connection with somebody. To which she said to me, this is exactly what I want to have too. I want to be held accountable as well. So when I held her accountable for some of her behaviour, she said to me, you got it wrong. She got defensive, she got passive aggressive. She was actually quite cruel and mean to me. And I was just sitting there when she was doing all these, having these moments where she was making these choices to act this way towards me. And I was just sitting there looking at her, just smiling, asking questions of her. Why would you say these things? What's going on here? What's the deeper feeling around this? Why are you doing this? Are you aware of what you're saying? Where's this feeling? How do you feel in this moment? And why are you saying these things? Why are you acting the way that you are? Why are you making these choices to say these things? Why are you making these choices to act this way? Which is just questions around the nature of accountability, right? To which I never really got the answer, or an answer that was clear. And that shows a lack of awareness in my perception, right? When you're not able to do that, this is where the work is with someone. When you're connecting with someone, this is where you really get together and you begin to do the work together if you wanted to move forward in regards to connection. If you don't have the energy for that, all you want to do is just get laid. It's very fucking different, right? And trust me, I've been there fucking more times than I care to count. And that's where I was for a lot of my life. I was in a place of deep fear. And that fear of connection, that fear of dropping in, that fear of emotionality, and my inability and my unavailability to be emotional, to be emotionally connected, and my emotional unavailability meant that I couldn't drop in that way due to the nature of my fear and my limitations around connection. Well, that's gone for me. That's not what it's about for me. For me, it's about going deep. It's about really connecting, about being in my heart and feeling safe and vulnerable at the same time as someone who can feel exactly the same way as me. But the lack of accountability, and that comes across my entire life. Workmates, employers, friends, family, loved ones, lovers. The lack of accountability in this time is astonishing for me. It's just astonishing because this, in my perception and my feeling, this is a wonderful time energetically to step into that place of accountability. And we're seeing it play out in our society too. If you notice this, the Epstein file stumps, right? The nature of looking for that certain people within the Israeli government, the Likud party, looking to create a conflict between Iran and the United States, and utilizing the United States as a proxy force to fight their wars for them. Prince Andrew being arrested this week as well, just moving forward here as well. And there's other, Donald J. Trump, I just heard this morning, February the 20th, that Donald J. Trump made a post on Truth Social saying potentially he's going to release information around ET, aliens, extraterrestrial craft, and the knowledge of extraterrestrial life from the US government and what they have in regards to crash craft and a whole disclosure project, right? A whole disclosure aspect. Now, all of that's wonderful stuff if it's all brought out into the public and people see it, and then they begin to hold people within those structures and within those frameworks, within those agencies accountable, right? They're all held accountable by people. Because at the moment, there's like, let's just take one example here with the Epstein files. Andrew being arrested by the Thames Valley Police in the UK. Prince Andrew, at that too, being arrested. Being a prince because of the nature of who your parents fucked, because of your supposedly your bloodline that goes through history, to me is fucking ridiculous. But anyway, genealogy and the idea of someone being more special than someone else and being a king or a queen or a princess is just fucking ridiculous. But anyway, to me, but beside the point, we're all avatars having an experience with consciousness, imbuing that avatar and experiencing the world at this realm through the avatar. There's no one's better than anyone else. Let's put it that way. At a base level, for me, we're all the fucking same. There's no one's more high and mighty because you're someone else fucks somebody else, and therefore you become more special than everybody else. Ridiculous. Anyway, he gets arrested. That's accountability, right? Potentially. There's a potential for that. But it's almost like throwing some meat to the wolves on some level to dissipate and to placate the people that are making up a bit, that in some ways showing, and Donald J. Trump's post on Truth Social too, is almost like placating or misdirecting energy away from what needs to be seen, right? Because I think there's a lot more to say about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein that I'm not going to fucking go into. Everyone else is doing it, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of subterfuge, there's a lot of energy at the moment around the nature of pushing people to look over there while behind you something else is going on that they don't want you to see, right? And that's the part and parcel of the lack of accountability. So someone would push your energy to look over here, or meanwhile over there they're doing something else. And a classic example of that was when I was with this woman at the beginning of the year for a very short time. She came forward and disclosed to me that she had another dude that she had been seeing in Mount Maunganui. And I said to her, okay, well, what's the situation there? Do you want to have your cake and eat it too? I've been here before, I know what it's like, many, many times. You have a lover here and a lover over there. Is that what you want to have? You want to have a connection with me in regards to just having this kind of deeper connection with me, but have a guy in Mount Maunganui that you still can hang out with and have sex with occasionally? Is that what you want to do? Because if that's what you want to do, full disclosure, I'm not interested in having that experience with you, but if you want to have it, by all means do it, right? And she's like, oh no, my body doesn't respond to him so much anymore like it used to, which is not a hard no, not a hard yes. It's like in somewhere in between. It's like, it's not really a, well, I actually really like the idea of dropping in with you, Far, and being with you and actually growing and be held accountable in a way that would allow me to actually grow as a woman in my skin and feel more comfortable, being more vulnerable, come to a place where I feel safe with you, to be able to express my fears, my doubts, my insecurities, and then know that you're going to be there to hold the space for me to feel safe in a way that allows me to actually become the woman I want to be, whoever that is. Either that woman in that moment or somebody else that you become, or you can feel like you can be that way with me for the short time we're together, because I'm intending to go overseas again this year. We'll see how that goes. I did the same thing last 3 years. And just truly dropping in with somebody and letting and dropping into your heart to feel safe, to be able to experience these experiences, right? But you kept it in a place where, like, well, it's sort of like, there's no hard yes, no hard no's. So I'm kind of somewhere in between. Now that to me is like an example of what's going on right now in the world. I'll give you this, meanwhile that you can't see. But I'll show you this. I'll show you my hand, but you can't see this one over here because this one over here is doing this. It's grabbing that, or it's pushing that over there, moving that over there. Meanwhile, you're looking at this hand here. It's misdirection. It's a magician's trick. Look over here. Meanwhile, I'm bringing out the rabbit from the fucking bottom of the hat and pushing it up through that, pushing it up or out of the cage, putting it up through the hat. Whoa, there it is. There's a rabbit. Look, woo, kind of thing. It's a misdirection. And I was quite clear, and I saw that with this individual, this woman. But I'm seeing it again now, even now in this time of great revelation, right? There's a misdirection happening, and that lack of accountability from people who are giving this misdirection, it's global, and the energy is there for that, right? But the energy is also here to be able to discern that and go like, oh yeah, I see what you're doing, and then go like, yeah, no, hard boundary, not for me. I can see what you're doing. I can see your position. I can see what you're looking to induce and experience in regards to my perceptions on reality. And I'm just going to stand back and go like, yeah, nah. Put my energy into this, and my energy now, I know for me, my energy now needs to be more in a place of surrender to be grounded. Surrender to be grounded. I'm not looking to build something upon this. I'm looking to simply get back into the wave. Not a sine wave, but it's a pretty good analogy for me. To get into remain in the wave. Remain in the oceanic wave of the cosmic energy that's happening in this moment, and not get taken and drawn in by the bright lights and the misdirections. Hey, look, for me, it's quite obvious in my experiences that there are levels of existence beyond this realm, right? In every way, astral, energetic, etheric, other dimensions, other levels of existence, aliens, so to speak. All that shit, it's for real. I've fucking known that for a very, very long time. It's nothing new to me. It wouldn't change my life in any kind of drastic way if I'm standing here talking to a Pleiadian who manifests next to me. I wouldn't be affected by that. Like, oh my God, there's a Pleiadian right next to me here. I'm talking to meet the Pleiadian. It wouldn't bother me at all. I wouldn't be like it would change my entire life. I might have a new friendship, a new connection, but I wouldn't be like, oh my God, this is a Pleiadian, or oh my God, it's a reptilian. Oh my God, it's an insectoid. The last two would probably be pretty freaky, but at the same time, for me, same moment for me, I've known all this shit for fucking years, man. I've experienced it. I've had experiences in my life where I've been possessed by a woman who had passed over in the 1800s in Dunedin. I've had entity attachments several times in my life. The most prevalent one, the most powerful one, the most terrifying one being at Bird's Clearing in the Golden Bay on the Takaka Hill. I've had I've seen shadow people all my life. I've seen shadow people in Wellington and Vancouver. I had a shadow being fair loose off me when I was 7, 8 years old in Green Bay in Auckland at my cousin's place. I've had entities that were non-physical come into follow me home from doing CE5 work, the Stephen Greer work, follow me home back to my apartment in Wellington, in Berhampore, and then have incredible etheric astral connection, sexual connection with me for hours and hours and hours, manifesting as a woman that I was enamored with and loved deeply in my life. In 2020, I've had numerous experiences, crazy ones, mad shit happen to me my entire life. So to me, this information around the nature of what's been shared. I knew about what was going on with what we call the parasite class. I call the parasite class, what they were up to for fucking decades and decades and decades. I came across that information while working with a woman called Suzanne Castunga in Vancouver for 2.5 years. I worked with her. I was her personal assistant. She told me what David Icke was saying back in the mid to late 90s was all true. I learned about David Icke in 2001. But Suzanne Castunga in 1999 told me all about the nature of the parasite class, satanic elite pedophile groups, and what they were getting up to before David Icke. I had even heard of David Icke. You know, that would become about a year later for me. So I know all about this kind of stuff. Nothing in regards to what is coming out for me is new. Everything that I'm seeing for me is just simply a repetition of what I've already known. And now it's coming out in the public because of the nature of the energies that are coming in cosmologically, astrologically, coming in with these shifts and changes. And as these energies come into our sphere of influence, we have to be really mindful, in my perception, around the nature of people being held accountable, most importantly, by us, we the people, holding these people accountable for what they say, do, think, act, how they've acted, past, present, and future. We have to also look at the situation in regards to what we've been offered, because a lot of it's misdirection and distraction. As my friend Rob said to me years ago down on the Kapiti Coast, isn't it funny when something happens in our reality that could break down the structures of society and civilization, and when that happens in regards to like natural cycles, which we are going through right now, Yuga cycle, the ekpyrosis, the transmutation through fire, and also the cycles within cycles within cycles. If you follow David Dubine's work, we're in a 400-year cycle. If you follow the human design work, we're also in a 400-year cycle, right? So the cycles within cycles within cycles, and the biggest cycle, of course, is the Yuga cycle, the great year, as the Vedic scriptures call it. So all this is happening, and the earth changes, the changes of the sun and the solar activity of the sun, changing our cosmology, changing us as a macro and micro, our own solar system, our own universes, and our avatars are changing, shifting, and we're being misdirected, and we're being pushed into places of perception where we're not anchoring in the energies and being in the life stream of this energy quite often, but due to the nature of what we've been shown. And people that are showing this information to us, misdirecting us with like disclosure projects, like the Donald J. Trump tweet on Truth Social today. To me, that seems like it's a massive misdirection. Look over here. Well, meanwhile, I'm doing this with my hand over there. Look over there. You know, it's that I wasn't in the Epstein files. I didn't do anything. I didn't rape anybody. Look over there. I released UFOs. Accountability, lack of accountability, misdirection, right? But that's on a macro, micro scale. There's people in my life who are doing exactly the same thing. They tell me to look over here, while meanwhile they're doing this. You know, they're transactionally taking my energy from me while they've misdirected me over here. And me being aware of this means I can make better choices in regards to who I'm spending my time with, how I'm spending my time, how much time I'm in nature, grounding into the energy that's moving through the planetary consciousness. And by doing that, having the ability to get clear, and getting clear means for me not in the Scientology sense of getting clear. I'm not editing, but getting clear in a way that allows me to be able to feel like I'm actually in the life stream of the planetary consciousness and the greater cosmos and the greater energy of the cosmos that's happening in this moment. Because in my perception, we're in it. We're totally in this energy, and this energy is moving, it's shifting and changing, and it's geophysical, it's cosmological, it's spiritual, it's conscious, it's etheric, it's astral, the chaos. And this is another point I'm looking at too in regards to the information I've discerned over the last 6 months after reading David Icke's books. I mean, to me, a lot of what he says has some credence, and a lot of it's, let's see what happens. The chaos that he predicted would be coming in this year, the year of chaos, 2026. It's still only February, man. It's like the second week of February. Second or third week of February. This is crazy. The amount of chaos we're going to have in 2026, energetically, as these forces from the lower astral get pushed into our realm because they can't handle the energy moving into the energy of that's coming in to hold them accountable in that level of astral. What he calls the truth vibrations, what David Icke calls the truth vibrations, that energy moving into the astral because of the nature of this cosmological cycle, right? Ekpyrosis, a transmutation through fire, as we move in the bell curve towards an ascending Dwapara cycle, Bronze Age, Tritya, Silver Age, Satya, Golden Age. As we're moving up that curve, the energy, the density of this energy of the ascending Kali Yuga cycle, the Iron Age and the Greek ages of man, that age of lies, lack of accountability, the age of deception and heaviness, especially in an emotional sense, and density being the real, to me, is the tenet of this age, which is just past. The density is beginning to be unpicked, and what happens in this moment as it's becoming unpicked and becoming less dense, and this is a slow process. What as David Icke has famously said, what was hidden will come from the shadows, has to come into the light to be transmuted and taken through the process of transmutation. Ekpyrosis, as the Greeks call it, age of fire, moving through that movement, through that energy. What's this year, by the way, in the Chinese horoscope? The year of the fire horse. Hello? So anyway, ekpyrosis, transmutation through fire. As we move into this energy, our choices become apparent to us. And this is just my perception. I'm not telling anyone how to live their fucking lives. For me, it's about riding this fucking wave, man. Riding the wave. I want to surf this motherfucker. Tubing, pipeline, fucking down the tube, man. I want to ride the wave all the way in, back home to source energy. I want to ride it all the way. I want to be on that wave. I don't want to be distracted. I don't want to misdirect my energy. I want to ride the fucking wave, baby, all the way back home. And I'm already there. That's the illusion of that I've been separated from it. I'm already there, but you know what I mean. I'm riding the wave and I'm home, but I'm still riding the wave back home. So it makes no fucking sense in some way, but in other ways it makes perfect sense to me. And that wave is a beautiful wave. It's a wave of a transmutation. It's a wave of, if we ride it, in my perception, it brings us back to ourselves. It brings us back to ourselves. And part of that process for me, in my experience in my life in this moment, is being truly accountable for everything in my life. How I think, how I feel, what choices I make, what I'm creating in my life, what I'm saying, what I'm doing, everything. I'm accountable for everything. And that's about being fucking growing up. It's about growing up and realizing I am the authority of my life. There's no other authority. Even though I might have been indoctrinated at school and university to believe that figure at the front of the class was the authority, no, not anymore. I am the authority of my life. The only authority I bow down to is my Creator. My Creator. And it's not Sol Invictus, the victorious sun, but that's where I can focus my energy towards in this moment. Because the sun, the light of the sun, in my perception, as Biblidev Misra says in his book, Yuga Shift, and this is my closing statement in this really long video, the light of the sun, which is a portal to the center of our galaxy according to his work in the Vedic scriptures, Sri Yukteswar's book, I think it's called The Holy Science, goes deeply into this, in the Kriya Yoga path, that the sun is a portal, and the energy of the sun comes back to the central sun in our galaxy, which goes back to source energy. This, what we call it, macrocosmos, a gigantic living being, according to the mystery school work, and of course according to various people who brought forth this information. I think Maximus the Confessor is Dr. Joseph P. Farrell's go-to in regards to this information. And we're inside this gigantic living being, and that, the sun behind me up there in the trees, is a portal for the energy of that living being's heart, in my perception, coming through into this realm, and therefore, when this happens, coming into this realm, it's like a download for me. The sun's energy, the sun's light, like a download for me in this moment. That allows me to tap into and to connect, and to bring that energy, anchor it into this realm, and let my own heart be a sun, like that one there, to shine a light. Thanks for watching, I truly appreciate it. Mate wa. I'll see you again soon.